This is a show that will blow your mind, but it might not. It all depends. Do you like breakfast and a book with a friend?
That's right, guys. Breakfast in a Book is back. Hope your weekend was good. I am drinking iced tea. Not hot tea today. It is too hot outside. I'm gonna show you outside. Oh yeah, I guess I could show you my cool dragon. That's our, we had Christmas lights on it, so we called it our Christmas dragon. We're planting tomatoes. We've got a barn back there. Basically, we're like living the dream over here, guys. Also, I want to show you our cool new guinea pig thing. Yeah, before we talk about Isaac Asimov and I show off my delicious peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I've got to show you the coolest guinea pig house ever. Bam. And the cutest guinea pig lying outside of the house. Probably because it's warm in here. We're gonna get him a little fan going pretty soon. We also gotta get some windows open, but when we're doing this video, we don't want the windows to be open because it'll be pretty loud. But you know what? Also, I have a roommate who does excellent voiceover stuff, and he is to be working on something. So if you hear some stuff from that, that's what we're talking about. Michael Steinbeck, been a while since I read that series. It is a good series, and it has been a little while since I read it too. But as you can see by the copy, it has been read a lot. This broke off at one point, got dog-eared, enough that I took it off. So today, we made a toasted peanut butter and jelly sandwich. The advantage of a toasted peanut butter and jelly sandwich is it is an excuse to put butter on your peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So now I have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which may be a little over the top, but is also super delicious. So, peanut butter takes a little bit to eat though. Note to self, when doing video on food, peanut butter, that is one of those ones that takes a minute to talk afterwards. So then I have to talk to you guys with my mouth full of peanut butter. Anyways, I hope everybody's doing okay out there. It is madness. I gotta say though, it looks like the stimulus check's gonna come through and might end up on unemployment because all my work was contract work and I have enough proof of the contract work that I think I'm gonna be okay. So it's kind of cool. Hopefully we can all get back to normal living though, because like I did a Facebook comedy show last night through Zoom. It was really fun. I had a good time. Everybody on it was like surprisingly funny, like amazingly funny. I was very surprised by it, honestly. And it turned out great. And that was fun. But that being said, I would love to get back on stage and have people be able to watch. I am missing doing stand-up in front of people and having that crowd feel a lot. So I would love for things to get back to normal. Obviously, we have to do that in the safest way possible and the least stupid way possible. People out there, I'm sure none of my friends out there who are watching this right now are fucking idiots who are like, I gotta protest because they're taking away my right to assemble. Ah! No one's taking away your rights, fuckers. They're just making sure that you don't kill people on accident because you have the disease, aren't showing it, and then pass it on to somebody else who doesn't show it, and then they pass it on to their grandma or roommate or whoever, and then everybody dies. That's all they're trying to do. They're not just for a little while. It's kind of like in freedom of speech where you can't yell fire in a theater because people could get trampled and die. That's like part of freedom of speech. You could argue, but guess what? It's not. Hey! So, anyways, that's just me going on a little rant. We're here to talk about Oh, we're not enough of a crowd for you? I'm hurt. No, Stouty, you guys are a great crowd, actually. It has been nice because my roommates also have come to my live comedy shows, and it makes it much easier. They're all sitting 6 feet across, away from each other, and it makes it much easier to do stand-up to at least 4 people who are laughing at your jokes, rather than, you know, nobody who's laughing at your jokes. Or at least nobody that you can hear. I mean, I could do straight stand up to you and you would be laughing, but I wouldn't get to hear them. And since I'm using my phone, I couldn't like check to see if you're pushing ha 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 or anything like that. Anyways, I hope we're all having fun. I hope we're all not going completely insane. I am lucky enough to have roommates and my awesome girlfriend Ariel, which is keeping me from climbing the walls. Even though I'm not a super social person, you may not be able to tell from this. But I'm not a super social person. I like chilling out and reading books, which is what we're going to talk about. That's kind of like the big thing I like to do. Read books, read some comics, watch good TV shows, and then, of course, do stand-up. And, of course, do my podcast, Nerd Goat. Anyways, so now we're going to get into Isaac Asimov Foundation. You can't see it because I have done it so much. Maybe this will... Nope, that doesn't have it. There we go. Asimov. The Foundation novels. Foundation. This book was written in 1944 or 42. 42, actually. Let's see. Printing history. This edition was published in 1951, but it was originally in 1940. And he won best sci-fi series ever in 1966 or something like that. So basically, it's based on this guy, these psychohistorians. Basically, a guy comes up with a super smart mathematician. I'll just read the back for you. That'll give you an idea. For 12,000 years, the Galactic Empire had ruled supreme. Now it was dying. But only Harry Seldon, creator of the revolutionary science of psychohistory, could see into the future, a dark age of ignorance, barbarism, and warfare that would last 30,000 years. To preserve knowledge and save mankind, Seldon gathered the best minds in the Empire, both scientists and scholars, and brought them to a bleak planet at the edge of the galaxy to serve as a beacon of hope for future generations. He called his sanctuary the Foundation. But soon the fledgling Foundation found itself at the mercy of corrupt warlords rising in the wake of the receding empire. Mankind's last best hope was faced with an agonizing choice: submit to the barbarians and be overrun, or fight them and be destroyed. This book is fantastic. The idea is that this mathematician, predicts that things are going to fall apart. He is right, of course. One of the things I like about this is the respect they give to people who are scientists and mathematicians and understand facts. One thing that's kind of interesting, though, is that he came up with this theory inside of this, that once you come up with a prediction, if people know about the prediction, that means the prediction is null. So the basic idea is, if you know what the future is supposed to be in your brain, then you will not go with that future automatically. It's just in our ideas to be like, well, if that's the future, then I'll rebel and not do the future. If you heard some pounding around, there's a diesel. There's a place next to us that does, like, they pick up trash for people, they do roofing, they do ambulance repair, they do a bunch of different stuff. So let's open from the book and read a little bit of Isaac Asimov. Or should we just maybe start from the beginning? That would be interesting. I think we'll start from the beginning. Harry Seldon, born in the 11,988th year of the Galactic Era, died 12,069. The datum more commonly given in terms of the current foundational era as 79 to the year 1 FE, born to middle-class parents in Helicon, Arcturus sector, where his father is in a legend of doubtful authenticity, was a tobacco grower in the hydroponic plants of the planet. He early showed amazing ability in mathematics. Anecdotes concerning his ability are innumerable, and some are contradictory. At the age of 2, he is said to have Undoubtedly, his greatest contributions were in the field of psychohistory. Selden found the field little more than a set of vague axioms. He left it a profound statistical science. The best existing authority we have for the details of his life is the biography written by Gal Dornick, who as a young man met Selden 2 years before the great mathematician's death. The Story of the Meeting, Encyclopedia Galactica. So this is from the Encyclopedia Galactica. How fun is that? His name was Gal Dornick, and he was just a country boy who had never seen Trantor before. That is, not in real life. He had seen it many times on the hypervideo, and occasionally in tremendous three-dimensional newscasts covering an imperial coronation or the opening of a galactic council. Even though he had lived all his life on the world of Synax, which circled a star at the edges of the Blue Drift, he was not cut off from civilization, you see. At that time, no place in the galaxy was. There were nearly 25 million inhabited planets in the galaxy then, and not one but owed allegiance to the Empire whose seat was on Trantor. It was the last half-century in which that could be said. To Gal, this trip was the undoubted climax of his young scholarly life. He had been in space before, so that the trip, as a voyage and nothing more, meant little to him. To be sure, he had traveled previously only as far as Synax's only satellite in order to get the data on the mechanics of meteor driftage, which he needed for his dissertation. But space travel was all one, whether one traveled 500,000 miles or as many light years. As you can see, already science-y, lots of fun. Don't you see? It's galaxy-wide. It's a worship of the past. It's a deteriorating, a stagnation. He stared from one to the other, and they gazed fixedly at him. Flair was the first to recover. Well, mystical philosophy isn't going to help us here. Let us be concrete. Do you deny that Harry Selden could easily have worked out historical trends of the future by simple psychological technique? No, of course not, cried Hardin. But we can't rely on him for a solution. At best, he might indicate that the problem, but if ever there is to be a solution, we must work it out for ourselves. He can't do it for us. You guys, this book is so good. I remember reading when I read it when I was young. It was probably a little too dense for me. So I kind of just read through it and enjoyed the drama, because at the same time that it is dense and has like a lot of like sort of philosophical underpinnings in it. Like I said, one of them being that you can't tell people what they should do in a situation if you can predict that situation, because then they probably won't do it. You have to give people choice to make the right decisions and rely on getting the smartest people around to make those decisions and believing them. I am a relatively intelligent person, I would argue. However, that being said, I know for a fact there are people who just know more than me. And in those situations, I listen to those people. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. To admit that you aren't able to understand a thing so that you can let the people who do understand that thing move you in the right direction is not a bad thing. It's actually pretty smart. Smart people know their limitations, I think. I think that's one of the biggest things that people miss out on in the world, is that you have to be able to understand what you're good at and what you're not great at and what your knowledge base is. It's a fact that I don't know everything. I know. Sounds crazy, right? But it's true. I don't know everything. I do know a few things, like I know how to tell dick jokes. Hello. I also know how to tell jokes about growing up in a weird family and camping for weeks at a time. I know about rollerblading. I know about Spider-Man. And I do have some basis in science. I've taken, physics. I've taken biology. I've taken many a class in science. But that does not make me a science expert. It does, however, allow me to do things like look at a research and go, oh, that's solid research. Look at a peer-reviewed research paper and get an idea of like, oh, this is what they did to come to their conclusion. I are so smart that I have no limitations. Limitations. That is funny, Stouty. You are a funny person. I wish you guys could read that, because he spelled it I, capital R. He left the E out of have, and he spelled limitations wrong. All on purpose, I'm sure, because he is a funny man. No. what I'm saying, guys, is eat your peanut butter and jelly sandwich, listen to doctors, read good books. The more you read, the smarter you'll be. Actually, I'm going to quote my friend Ed. The more words you know, the more emotions you can feel. If that makes any sense, you understand what I'm talking about. It's a quote from Ed from our awesome podcast, Nerd Go. By the way, you can check out my cool stuff on my cool stuff is this. We got Nerd Go podcast, where Ed Greer and I talk about the coolest, people's favorite fictional characters of all time. We usually have a guest on. The last few weeks for quarantine, we haven't had a guest. We're going to try to get a couple of guests, but it's a little difficult. We're hoping at some point that we can all get back together and get people in a room so that we can sort of get Nerd Go back onto what we usually like to do, which is, having interesting guests to talk about the characters, not just Ed, Ron, and Bill talking about characters they think are cool, which we have done. We talked about Bane. This week's episode, who did we talk about for this week's episode? Well, my brain is moving slow today. But we also have Reboot It. If you haven't checked out Reboot It, you're out of your mind. Reboot It is amazing. I am super proud of what we're doing with that. Basically, what we do is the concept is that Billy Business from Screen Junkies, Ed Greer from Screen Junkies, producer Bill, who has produced and written and done a bazillion things, and then Ron Swallow, who has been in weird horror films where people think maybe he could be a serial killer. I don't know. And does stand-up all over the place and writes jokes. All of those things. We all get together, and we are forced by John Peters, famous for wanting Superman to fight a spider, to reboot movies that nobody wants rebooted. That's right. So, for instance, we have just rebooted The Matrix. We got in fights. We disagreed on stuff. We got worried that we couldn't do it. And then at the end, we pulled out something I think is pretty cool. On top of that, we have done Star Wars, Green Lantern, Superman, Wolverine. We've done a bunch of them. They're great. People like them and are engaged, and I'm pretty proud of it. So if that's one of the things you can check out right now, I don't need you guys to send me any money via Venmo or PayPal right now, because it sure looks like things are going to work out. I'll know 100% basically tomorrow night once I know what happens with my unemployment going through. But if you feel so inclined, you can send me stuff through Venmo at ron-swallow or PayPal, ronswallow@gmail. And you can send me a couple bucks, and then I will use it to pay my rent. Hey, paying rent, reading books, eating peanut butter jelly sandwiches, yeah. And now I wonder why Rich Slayton said that this is interesting to watch a man's descent into madness step by step. That's what he said of my videos. Which, hey, there's an argument for that. So now I will just say, thank you as always for listening to another awesome episode of Breakfast and a Book with Swallow. All right, bye guys.